because there is always that option, right? When you look at someone who's done a bachelor's versus someone who has done a master's, there is a salary difference, there is a better standard of living which is out there. So this question about the financial value, the benefit or the financial value that a higher education degree brings to your table is something which is on everyone's minds. At the same time, of course, there's inflation, rise in tuition cost, etc. So today's masterclass will actually be speaking about or showing you how net present value can be used by a prospective student such as yourself or anyone else that you know of to make an informed financial decision about your studying abroad, right? So I'm going to wait for a couple of more people to start streaming in before I run my first poll for the evening. We still have a lot of people streaming in from different parts. So I'm just going to wait for another few seconds before I run the first poll for today. I think, I think we should get started and run the first poll. Okay. So if all of you could just look up on your screen, there is a poll question which has come up, which is what, according to you, is the most important reason for a student to consider pursuing a master's education in the USA? Is it high return on investment, better job prospects, quality of education, higher standard of living, global exposure, or the variety of courses offered? Of course, I see that we have a lot of close to around 170, 180 people who have entered the live session. If you all could just go and pick a choice, I will result the poll answers shortly. So whatever of these options do you feel is something which is a very, very important reason for you or for anyone who's looking at studying abroad, specifically, let's say in the USA as an option, would consider? If you could go and put your vote there, I will announce the results shortly. We have around 180 or so, expecting all of you to at least go and put your vote in the poll section so that I can then announce the results. Okay, so we have our poll questions out with us. So we have high return on investment at 21%, better job prospects, which is at a close to 26%, this quality of education. So a lot of our audiences are leaning towards better job prospects and, of course, high return on investment. So thank you so much. Thank you all for voting. I'm going to be taking a very short while quickly to just do a quick introduction. My name is Sabah Tapurzuk. I am a senior marketing manager with Seed Global Education. We're a UK headquartered company which facilitates interaction between top global universities like the one we have for you today and prospective students such as yourself, giving you all a chance to connect with faculty from these institutions, giving you a taste, a glimpse into the various programs that are being offered by these universities to, of course, help you make informed decisions about your higher education and career plans. We have with us today Dr. Badrinath, who is an assistant professor of finance with the George Washington University School of Business. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Badrinath. So prior to earning his PhD, he was engaged in equity research on US technology stocks, where he was the head of the equity research team and was responsible for hiring, training, and managing a team of more than 25 equity research analysts. Dr. Badrinath teaches investments, corporate finance, and case studies in finance currently at the George Washington School of Business, and he will be leading this very, very informative session today. We also have with us Nan, who's the Assistant Director of Graduate Business Admissions, and post this masterclass, we will also be speaking to Nan, who will let you all know about the various programs and the offerings that the university has to offer. Right. So without further ado, I now hand over the session to Dr. Badrinath. Thank you so much, Doctor, once again. And we're all excitedly looking forward to this session.
Thank you, Sabahat. I thank everybody for being here for this talk. Let me share my screen. Okay. So what are we going to do today is, essentially try to understand, can we use some finance techniques to come up with a decision of how to value higher, whether to do higher studies or not. Personally, I have done, masters before. I have done a career switch, so I understand the kind of uncertainties that come with this decision to pursue higher studies. Some of you might have decided which college you might want to go to, university you want to go to, but still, you'll still be what there will be such little bit of lingering uncertainty. Okay, so what I'm going to try now is try to talk about how we can use a familiar finance technique, which you'll be learning in any master's in business education. It could be master's in accounting or master's in finance. And we are going to see how this helps even your decision to do a master's studies. Okay, so this part, I just wanted to talk about different reasons why people pursue higher education. But based on the poll today, looks like all of you are very clear why you wanted to do higher education. So we did see a lot of interest in better job prospects, high return on investments, and global exposures. Okay, so those definitely are benefits of pursuing a higher education abroad. But some of you might be interested in pursuing higher education, let's say MBA within the same country. I know most of you are from India, but we had some participants from outside of India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. One thing that, even if you're not willing to do higher education abroad, potential reasons that you want to do is, for example, career switch. Masters especially is quite helpful for career switch. I can talk from my personal experience. I was engineer in undergrad in India, and I was working in a software company, and I was not quite satisfied with what I was doing. And I wanted to switch to finance. And, the only reason I did masters is, to have a career switch. And I have to admit, I'm quite happy with the results. Okay, so there are several other, there are some non-quantifiable aspects of why we want to pursue higher education. For example, we want to get a better knowledge of the world. And we want to develop better communication skills, like how do we talk to our peers and everyone else. But these are non-quantifiable, so we are going to leave these out. And what I am going to focus, I think ROI was number 2 ranked in the polls, I believe. So number 2 or number 3, it was in the top 3. So what we are going to see is we are using a finance technique, and we are going to assess how higher education is going to help us increase our pay. Okay, let's say I'm making an X amount of money today. By pursuing a master's education, can I make more? Okay, that is going to be the benefit we are going to focus on, because we need a quantifiable metric to use the technique. Okay, so I'm going to focus primarily on higher pay. That does not mean higher education does not have any other benefits. There are several benefits. I have been a beneficiary of all the points listed here, but for the technique itself, we are only going to focus on higher pay. Okay, so I do not have data for India, but I have data in US. So what this slide shows is the weekly earnings this is the median weekly earnings of people with different education backgrounds. As you can see, compared to bachelor's degree, master's degree holders, this is broader masters. I think this is masters in all different disciplines. And master's degree holders, they make around $240 more than bachelor's degree per week. That comes down to $10,000 on average. I would presume that business master students will be making slightly even more. Okay. So, yeah. So with respect to higher pay, if we do higher education, on average, we make more money. Okay, so there is no doubt about that. That's what the statistics.
Dr. Badrinath, your slides are not moving.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see the full screen or?
No, it's not in full screen yet.
Full screen. Okay. So I'm good in finance. I still fumble when I use, PowerPoint. uh, okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Sorry about technical issue. This is the point I was talking about. On average, a bachelor's degree holder in US makes $1,300 a week. A master's degree holder makes $1,500 a week. I am comparing salaries within US. I would presume comparing salaries in US versus outside would be a lot higher. And based on these numbers, a master's degree holder in US makes about more than $10,000 more than a bachelor's degree holder. So we do know that doing a master's definitely pays more. So if it pays more, why don't most of the people, do masters? Why don't every one of us do masters? So this is the primary reason is there are costs to making decisions. Okay, and this is the first thing you will learn when you take the economics class. There is no free lunch. If you want a benefit, there are mostly costs involved. Okay? So what are the costs with respect to pursuing higher education? Number one is tuition fees. That is the big ticket item. You have to pay a lot of money in terms of paying tuition. And because of the ticket size of tuition fee itself, not all of us would be able to afford the size. So we opt for student loan and you have to pay interest on that. And there is also another important aspect. And this is again, if you have not learned about this already, you will definitely learn in your master's program. It is the key concept of opportunity cost. Briefly, opportunity cost means the cost of not choosing the next best alternative. In this context, doing a full-time master's education for 2 years would mean most of you will not be working for 2 years. So you are foregoing salary for 2 years. So we have to incorporate those costs as well. So definitely there is benefits to higher education, but there are costs for higher education as well. Okay, just looking at tuition prices, what this chart shows is the growth in tuition fees. I think this is mostly undergrad, but I think master's program have also seen roughly similar growth rate. You can see the solid black line here. That is the CPI, the inflation rate in US over the last 40 years. It has been reasonably contained, only at 3%, but the tuition fees has increased at 6% rate. Okay? And if you're following news about US, you'll definitely see this. There is a huge amount of student loan debt outstanding in US right now. So people because of the high tuition fee, people definitely have to take a higher amount of loan. There is a political talk about, whether people would like to get the loans waived and things like that. We're not going to get into the politics of it, but that's the main idea I wanted to begin is we know there are several benefits to higher education, but at the same time, there is also cost. So what do we do here? So how can we kind of weigh costs and benefits, and how do we come up with a decision as to whether to choose a particular program? For this, finance definitely helps. So I think most of you would be interested in doing masters in finance. And finance is mostly about, you know, valuing things as investments. So if you're in finance, if you want to be an investor, you want to buy a specific company, like a stock, or you want to buy a real estate. So what do we do when we do that is an investment. We are paying money right now, but we're expecting benefits over a period of time. If we are buying a house right now, essentially what we're thinking is, okay, I'm paying upfront money right now, but the benefits of owning a house is I don't have to pay rent next year, the year after, and so on. And I get to live in my house, and house value hopefully will appreciate as well. So the cost is right now, but the benefits are in the future. Same thing with stocks. I buy a company, let's say Apple, and I'm paying stock price right now. I'm hoping that I will draw benefit out of it in terms of higher dividends in the future. We can think of education as an investment. I think education is definitely an investment because we are incurring costs right now, and the cost that we incur, is tuition fees, the opportunity cost, and the effort. I mean, unlike other investments, I can just buy a house and not do anything. But in terms of education, the investment involves activity on the student's part. You buy a stock, you don't have to do much. In education, you have to put effort, you have to cram, you have to study, you have to do assignments, you have to study for the exams. So, but still, that's an investment because you put all the costs now and you get the benefits in the future. And how do we think about benefits? We can think about benefits as the increase in salary that we get after we finish this degree. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, I'm only going to focus on the financial value of education. Doesn't mean education does not have other values. It definitely has. Okay, so think of this. Let's value the education based on finance, and anything else that comes is extra. Okay. Okay, so this part is clear. Education is the investment you make right now, and you get benefits in terms of higher salary in the future. Now we immediately run into the problem. So if I spend, let's say, $100,000 in an education, and I finish it, I get $200,000 next year. It's easy. It's done. It's a positive. Some of you mentioned ROI. So the ROI is clearly there. The inflation is not going to be that higher in a 1-year perspective. It's definitely high now, but what I mean is it's not that complicated to do an ROI calculation compared with the interest rates right now. But with education, though, the increase in salary is not only next year. You are going to enjoy the benefits 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 25 years from now, until you retire. So how do I value the increase in salary that I would get 20 years from now versus the cost of education currently that I have to pay in terms of tuition fee, and make an informed decision? Okay. So this is the question. And we know very clearly $1 that I can have today, or it could be 1 rupee that I can have today, is not same as the value of dollar or rupee tomorrow. Okay, so you can look at the box office. So if you look at, I know there are some movie fans in the audience now, and I can ask you, which is the highest grossing movie, let's say in US box office ever. All of you can say any movie, like probably Star Wars or Avengers that released in the last 10 years. That includes inflation, though. If you remove inflation, you have to go, I think, 80 years ago. I think Gone with the Wind is the highest grossing movie, inflation adjusted. Okay. Why are we inflation adjusting? Because we implicitly know $1, like this year, Avatar is crossed well last year. It's not same as $1 in 1940s. Okay. Okay, so now we have a good understanding that $1 is not the same as the dollar in the future. How do we work with this? So we go to a concept called present value. And what the present value does is it tries to give us what would be the value of a dollar that is going to be received in the future. So essentially, you are getting money in the future. What is the money worth today? Okay. And this is a core concept in any finance aspects. For example, if you do a master's in finance, you're either working in a corporate finance where you are working in a company and the company has to make a decision whether to invest in a project. Maybe you're working in Google and you want to work on a product like ChatGPT, Google Bard, and the company wants to know whether it should invest in such kind of projects. Okay, so the tech team, marketing team will focus on something, but the finance team has to use the projections and kind of tell whether this is going to be financially beneficial for the company. How do you do it? Use the same technique, present value. Or if you're a master's in finance, again, you would like to go and work in investment banking or some kind of trading or be a stock analyst, you again have to value companies. Let's say you are an equity research analyst tracking Apple. Apple pays dividends in the future. How would you come up with the value of Apple stock right now? Okay. It's the same concept. We use the concept of present value. How do we think of present value? So it takes time to understand, to internalize. I mean, understanding is relatively quick, and internalize this. We don't have much time. So what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about future value. And I'm going to say how present value you can think of in kind of a flipped version of a future value. Okay, so what is the future value? So all of you have bank accounts. I definitely hope you have. And let's say you invest $100 in your deposit bank account, savings account, and the banks, let's say, pays 5%. And you don't get the $100 out until the end of the year. So you deposit $100 in the beginning of the year, and you wait for a year at 5% interest rate. What is the money you are going to get 1 year from now? You are going to get $105. And that this is what we call as a future value. And for present value, all we have to do is we have to flip the same thing back. Think you are receiving $105 in the future, so the cash flows or the future cash flows, and assume you are having, so we need an interest rate. So the interest rate would be what we would call here in this context as discount rate. And so if I ask, okay, what is the present value of $105 if the discount rate is 5%? What is the present value right now? The present value would be 100. Okay, so I don't want to waste much time here. I know this is an involved concept. You will roughly get it by the time you graduate master's. Okay, so this is the idea, and this is the formula that for net present value. So I just gave an example of a cash flow that happens one time, that is 1 year from now. But this concept can be expanded to cash flows that occur over a period of time. Cash flows can, for example, with respect to education, you're going to get higher salary for the next 30 years. So you have to incorporate the value of cash flows 1 year from now, the year after that, and so on for the next 20, 30 years. So what this says is net present value is the discounted sum of cash flows. And this is the summation. I equal to 1 to n essentially says the cash flows that you receive from the year after your graduation till your retirement. And each cash flow is discounted at a discount rate of R. Okay, so the key aspects here is you would need cash flow, you would need a discount rate, you would need to know the number of years that you are going to work, and you also need to know what is your initial investment. Okay, so these are the key metrics. I'll take you through how to think about each of these. And the idea is you would want the NPV to be positive before you make a decision. Okay. So how about what is the cash flows that we should be thinking about? That is the cash flow that we receive in the future. So that would be incremental earnings from a degree. So what I mean by incremental earnings is I did show, at least in the second slide, that a master's student makes, I think, $1,500 a week on average. Is that the cash flow a master's students must use to evaluate the decision to pursue masters? Not the case, right? If by not pursuing masters, the student can make, a decision. A student would already have a bachelor's, would already make, $1,350 a week. So the master's degree financially only gives $200 a week more, not $1,500. Okay, so this is the key. We have to use the incremental cash flows. And here, for incremental cash flows, I'm going to assume the increase in salary after graduation. So how do you think about this? You are applying to different schools, and schools will have their placement statistics. If they don't have it in their website, they'll be very happy to help. Send them an email and they'll give you a rough idea. So you can use the median, roughly the median salary as the salary after graduation, and always use the incremental salary in terms of cash flows. Okay, so how do we think about N? Okay, N is the number of time, N is the time period. And for N, you are in control of your life. Okay, so how many years you want to work after you graduate? I guess most of you would be in your 20s. So roughly by the time you finish graduation, you'll be high 20s or 30s. I'm assuming you're going to work 30, 35 years from there. So you can use 30, 35 as the time period. And we need a discount rate. So this is one of the key things you will understand. It takes a lot of time figuring out different discount rates. That's what we teach in a master's in finance. What is the different discount rates that you can use? For our purpose, I'm just going to simplify things, and I'm going to use education loan interest rate. If, most of you, I think, at least some of you will think about getting an education loan, and these loans come with an interest, so you can use the interest rate on education loan. And the formula also has initial investment. And initial investment tuition fee part is pretty straightforward, but it also involves doing higher studies, also involves opportunity costs that I keep mentioning about. You are going to lose your current income. If you study 2 years master's, you're not working for 2 years. So that income is lost. So you'll have to account for that. Okay. So after mentioning all this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop share this, and I'm going to show the spreadsheet where I take you through these calculations. Can you see the spreadsheet? I'm hoping you're able to see the spreadsheet. And so again, I have shared this spreadsheet, and you might be able to get a copy of this. So you can change the assumption. So I mentioned the things that you need. One is the incremental salary, right? So I have assumed, okay, so all these are assumptions. This will change with the person. For example, after master's, let's say you would want to work in an investment bank and you end up in an investment bank. Your salary is going to be higher than another person who does the same master's and wants to work for a nonprofit. Okay, so only you understand where you want to work. And so you have to use the salary accordingly. And also your current salary can change. Some of you would be just outside of college. Okay, some of you would have had 7 to 10 years of experience already. So people who have higher experience have higher opportunity costs. So only you know it, so you can change the numbers. I have used a number of 20,000. And here is the key. I have done everything, all the numbers I use are after tax real numbers. So nominal numbers means inflation affects it. Real numbers means I take the effect of inflation away. Okay, so the idea here is I'm using a take-home salary. I'm assuming a take-home salary of 50,000 before entering the program and 70,000 after entering. So that gives a benefit of 20,000. And these are real dollars. So essentially, I'm assuming the increase in salary every year is going to be in line with inflation. Okay, so time horizon, I am assuming this student works for 35 years. Discount rate. So discount rate, again, using an after-tax real education loan interest rate is tricky, but I'll take you through the calculations. So I searched the internet. I think roughly some state banks in India, they give a 9% interest rate on student loans. That is the nominal interest rate. And I reduced an inflation rate of 3%. So I got 6%. However, many countries let you detect education loan interest rate from your from your income. So there's a tax benefit of that interest. So government pays essentially a 1% interest. So I arrived at 5%. You can make adjustments based on which banks gives you a loan at what interest rate. And I use the present value formula. Present value formula is quite simple. All you have to do is every Excel sheet hash it. So you just say equal to present value, and it will ask for a few numbers. Okay, it will ask for this discount rate, annual discount rate, which is 5%, number of periods, 35 years you're working, payment is 20,000. I've used a negative sign here because the formula in Excel assumes you are paying 20,000 every year in the future, but you are receiving. Okay. So that gives a value of 327,000. That is the present value of future earnings. How about initial investment? So the tuition fee, roughly I'm assuming is $100,000 over 2 years. You might get scholarships, so that can go down. An opportunity cost, I'm looking at opportunity cost lost of $50,000 a year. The idea being, there's the money you would make if you continue to work. That adds up to 200,000. As you can see, I am not discounting. I am not using a present value of initial investment because we only use present value when we receive cash flow or pay cash flows in the future. Initial investment, we are paying right now. So it's already a present value. So it need not be discounted. So I subtract 327, 200. I get a net present value of this investment is $100,000. So for this person, at least who fits these assumptions, then NPV, so the education is an NPV positive, which essentially means, financially, this person will be better off by completing this degree than just having a bachelor's. Okay. And so I'm going to stop share and some final thoughts. So, what I have, can you see this? Okay. So final thoughts. Yeah, you can use NPV to see whether education degree is beneficial to you. And this is the part many students, kind of miss. Yes, some degrees are quite good. Some universities are quite good. Does not mean every college out there can give a positive NPV degrees. And many students got into student loan crisis because even before beginning, they could have done these calculations and they could have figured out that this is not going to be NPV positive investment, and they could have avoided the trouble. So that's the reason I wanted to show, how NPV can be quite helpful in addressing many problems. And this is actually the focus of many people right now. They want universities to give all the details, tuition fees, scholarship, and so on, so students can make a decision on their own. So, okay, so you can use, I hope you learned how to use NPV here, and you can definitely use NPV to make informed choice. Again, the inputs is specific to you. You might choose a different degree. So with a different degree, the numbers will vary, and given your background, the cash flows and everything will vary. And this technique kind of puts the costs and benefits explicitly. You might be doing ROI calculations in your mind, but this gives, it's always better, to write something down, think carefully, and then see how it works. Also, I have shown you a very simplified version. There are advanced versions, and you can do all kind of additional complex metrics inside. You can let your salary grow at a higher rate than inflation. You can use different probability distribution with respect to incremental cash flows. For example, you can look at what's the probability of you getting placed, probability of you getting a job in US or coming back, and so on. But I just left it to keep it a simplified version. Okay. One final thing is, a model is only as good as the assumptions. NPV is a simple model, very intuitive, and it's a good model. But if we keep throwing a wrong data, then we are going to get wrong answers. So if I say I'm going to make $1 million right out of the graduate degree, I'm going to get an investment banking job on $1 million, every education is going to be NPV positive. So think about that. All right. So thank you so much. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Badrinath, for this wonderful session and all the lovely insights that you've given us all present here today. I have quite a few questions that a lot of students have asked, so I'm going to take on a few of them before we move to Nan and the presentation from her end. So the first one is from a student who's saying that she's received multiple admits from various different universities. Now, what can she do, or what can be done in order to compare which university would be a better fit, considering that the tuition fee largely differs from university to university? So any thoughts on that?
Now, first, I would like to congratulate on multiple offers. Okay, so it's a job well done, and it's a problem of plenty. So I think a few things that you should look at is, what's the tuition cost, as you mentioned? What is the placement statistics? And so if everything is close, I mean, let's say you are looking at, I'm just making up. So you're looking like a small college town, and you're looking at a big city.
Mhm.
everything matches, then it comes down to whether you prefer a big city or a small college town. Okay, so it's individual specific. I don't think anybody can make a decision. Financially, of course, I've given you the thing. You just look at the statistics, placements, fees. But I have, I have given advice to a few students before who came to me. They're like, I cannot pick these two. And essentially, I said, do you like living in a city or a small town? They said, city. Okay, go for a city college. That's all we can do.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor. That's really helpful. Another quick question is, if someone is pursuing or working in a particular field and they want to pursue an MBA abroad, but considering the cost factor, considering the fact that MBA is such an expensive affair, if they were to, let's say, take up a master's in a similar field, what would be, how beneficial, according to you, would that be for them?
You mean taking, for example, masters in finance versus
Yes,
MBA
versus
itself?
an MBA. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, many students do that. Many students nowadays, they take masters in accounting and masters in finance, primarily because MBA is quite expensive. At least when I was doing my masters, there was only MBA. So there was not any masters in accounting and masters in finance. But these are completely different programs though. For example, so if you pursue masters in finance, you are just focused on one specific field and certain types of jobs. And the focus is more on technical skills, whereas MBA also, it's expensive, but it also trains you for different kind of job opportunities. And it improves your communication skills. There is a lot more collaboration and you meet people from different fields. It's completely different. I would not suggest, choose one over another primarily for cause. Just, I think first thing I would do is like, for example, if you are very clear that you want to be a CPA, CPA is chartered public accountant. We call it CA in India. You want to be a CPA in US, you have to choose masters in accounting. MBA is not going to help. So if you're that clear on what you want, then you can do that. Or if you want to be a financial analyst, I want to be a quantitative financial analyst. I don't like marketing or strategy, anything like that. Then you do a master's in finance because you're very clear in what you want. But if you're not that clear, then MBA is a better degree because it gives you exposure to, different fields like marketing, business analytics, and so on. So again, what you choose, yeah, definitely finance is one factor, but there is no point choosing masters in accounting just because MBA is expensive. You have to like accounting.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor. I know a lot of you have been posting a lot of questions, but given the scarcity of time, I am clubbing a few of them together. So very quickly, Doctor, considering the fact that you also did your undergrad in India and then pursued your studies abroad, what would you say, would be a likelihood for someone who wishes to, let's say, do a master's in the USA and take up a student loan or take up some kind of a financial help from somewhere, given the recession, given the fact that there is a sort of job scarcity in the market, versus them not doing a master's, continuing to stay and working in India, and then, building up their financial bit by bit?
This is an important question, right? Like you do everything right, you figure out a student loan, you study, you're top of the class, but then you come to a market when there is a recession. So in 2008, I think there are studies which showed that people who came to the market in 2008, who finished graduation in 2008, they got paid so low that they couldn't catch up even for the next 5 or 10 years, something like that. That's the uncertainty we live in. I'll have to highlight that in US, the unemployment rate was so high, even for people who continue to work. And as I said, education is an investment. It does not come without any risks. Okay, the financial aspect of education does not come without any risk. And some years are good years, some years are bad years, and nobody is going to government bails out bank. Government is not in the business of bailing out students, unfortunately. That is the risk that an individual has to take. There are fears of recession in US, but as like just a week ago, we heard job numbers. US is showing the lowest unemployment rate so far. Doesn't mean 2 years later, US might not be in a recession. Nobody can predict that. So now we have some kind of bank concerns and so on. It's hard. I mean, I cannot make a prediction here that 2 years from now will either be in a recession or not. It just happens outside, external shocks. That's the risk all of us have to bear. I mean, 2 years from now, if it's a bad recession, who knows who will have a job, okay? So it's hard, it's difficult, and we are living in that kind of a world where the risk is purely based on the individual, unless you're, of course, a bank. Okay, so you have to make the call and you have to live with the call.
Thank you so much, Doctor. With this, I'm going to let you go, since I know there are quite a few questions still in the Q&A box, and we are going to be taking them up shortly with Nan, who is going to come up live now and take us through the various programs and offerings by GWSP. So thank you so much, Dr. Badrinath, for the wonderful session and the wonderful insight. Nan, over to you if you can quickly take us through this. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Nan Yan. I'm Assistant Director for Graduate Missions at George Washington University School of Business. Now I'm going to share my screen with you to take you through some of our programs and offerings. So after my short presentation, we can answer some questions. Okay, so without further ado, first, I don't know how many of you know about George Washington University. So we are in the downtown of Washington, D.C. So we are, the location is wonderful. We are surrounded by international organizations like World Bank, IMF, and all kinds of embassies. And also, we are very close to the State Department. K Street is very close to our school. So on K Street, there are a lot of law firms, lobbyists where they work, and also consulting firms like KPMG. So I would say our location defines who we are and what we do. We are very global focused, and we give students a lot of choices in the terms of programs and also experiences. So I want to take you to a look at some of our ranking recognition in 2021. So our international business program is listed #1 in the US and #2 worldwide. And we are very proud that we have the #1 percentage of women in global MBA in the US for 2021 and 2022. And also our finance program is #2 in the US, and our global MBA in the US is #34 in 2021. So for the US News ranking, our MBA, full-time MBA is #53, our finance is #10. Our Master in Management program is a new program, but it ranks 11th by the US News. And our business analytics ranked #19. So we also like embrace diversity. As you can see, the percentage of women in our global MBA is #1, but we also listed #2 in diversity in the US in 2021 by the Bloomberg Business Week. So of course, ranking is not, the only one thing when you consider, graduate programs, but I want to give you a sense of, like what we can offer you and what our value is, what we're really focused on, at GW School of Business. So now I'm going to talk about some of our graduate programs. We have a lot of offerings. So we have 2 full-time MBA programs. One is Global Full-Time MBA, and the other one is Accelerated MBA. Both have a STEM track for students to choose. And then we also have 20 plus graduate certificates, which international students cannot take certificates alone. However, they can combine their certificate with a degree, for example, like MBA or master degrees. Then we have 13 master degrees, and those 13 programs are, like very common business disciplinaries, and a lot of them are STEM choices. For example, we have MS in accountancy, we have a applied accounting, which is a STEM track. We have applied finance, business analytics, finance. Those are all STEM choices: information system technology and project management. We also have a program called interdisciplinary business studies, which is you combine 2 graduate certificates plus 6 optional electives to combine as a master degree. And this program can be a STEM program as well. So why GWSB? So here are some of our value propositions for you. First, you will have access to world-class faculty. And then we are very innovative in terms of our curriculum design. Our curriculum are very international focused because where we are, as I said, our location defines who we are. So we have that global mindset. That's why we attracted a lot of international students. And then we are very technology and analytics focused. So a lot of your classes will be focused on those quant skill set, which is also what employers really want to see from graduate students. And then we offer really good experiential learning programs, learning experience for students. So whether you are an MBA student or a master degree student, you have those short-term or long-term, study away programs to help you get international experiences. And then we have an in-house GWSB Career Center, which is focused on helping our students get internships and job opportunities in the US. And also we have a lot of industry clubs, events, and organizations to help students get that experience and networking going on. And also GWSB has a very extensive and evolved alumni network, which you can expect, it's not just in the US, but worldwide. So if you are looking at an international career, then, our alumni, they are really committed and, a lot of them really help our new graduate students get a foot in the door. And also we are proud of our flexibility and the customizability. We have, like I said, we have a lot of offerings. So we have 20 plus graduate certificates, 200% GWSB electives, and you can choose up to 6 credits outside the GWSB, and we have 20 plus joint dual degrees. So those are really a lot of offerings to customize your study experience with us. I mentioned our Fowler Career Center. So our Fowler Career Center is an in-house career center. What they do is they ensure that every GWSB student is prepared and positioned to pursue their career of choice. So they have specialty career consultants who can have one-on-one career coaching with you. And they are divided by tracks. We have consulting track, we have marketing track. So depending on where your career interest is, they can, you can choose the career coach to help you map out your career journey. But that's just one side of the house. The other side of the house is actually we have employer development and relationship department. What they do is they reach out to the employers to build up relationship with them, to invite them back on campus to talk to our students, like their HR or like their panel discussion for our students. So our students get a sense of, what are those employers are looking for. And also they recommend students to, for internships, things like that. So the Flower Career Center is an important part of your study in the US, at GWSB, and they will start working with you as soon as you start the program. So, but having that said, the center is you. You have to take action to really take advantage of this resource, to really pursue your career. As a graduate student, you can't expect, someone will give you homework every day to, help you just to find a job, land a job. It involves your own effort. So this is just a brief sampling of our student landings. As you can see, there are some big names like Amazon, PwC. So there are a lot of job opportunities for our students. I mentioned our international and domestic alumni network, and they are really very important for you to take advantage. As you can see, in Europe, Asia, Middle East, and Americas, there are a lot of GWSB alumni groups, and they are great resources for you in terms of job hunting and internship hunting. So once you get, to GWSB, you will have chance to get to know those alumni, get on their, social media, and to really do some networking to help you, get your next internship or next job. So I want to briefly talk about our admission requirement. So we have a general admissions requirement, which you can go to our website to see how to apply page. However, there are some specific requirements for international applicants. And first is our English language scores. So we would like to see, students with a TOEFL of 100, IELTS overall score of 7, Duolingo of at least 125. So those students, given other admissions requirements are met, you will be admitted to our program. But for students who are slightly below those, thresholds, what we do is you will be likely placed into EAP program, which will help you improve your English, academic English, before the program starts. There are some exemptions for English language score. However, those are very specific, exemption requirements you have to meet. So just reach out to us, and then it's a case-by-case situation. And another thing I want to highlight is the transcript evaluation. So if you get your undergraduate degree outside the US, you will be likely to require an international transcript evaluation. So I would suggest you to do this ahead of time, because in terms of do an international transcript evaluation, most students will take, somewhere between 3 weeks to 6 weeks. So it can really delay your application process. So I would say plan ahead, and, you can still fill your application form, submit your other documents while you are waiting for your international transcript evaluation. So for the international transcript evaluation services, we encourage students to check the National Association of Credential Evaluation Services. There is a list of acceptable evaluation services you can use. It really up to you. We don't have a strong preference, but we have seen students, use the WES, ECE, Spectrum. Those are common, agencies or applicants have used. And today, in order to thank you all for joining me, I'm going to give a fee waiver code here. So do you see a fee waiver code on the bottom of the right of my screen? So please take a screenshot. So after your application, after you are ready to submit your application, just put the fee waiver code in the payment, like request a fee waiver code, then you can put this code in, so you can save $80 application fee. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about our funding your education. So for our master programs, the tuition is somewhere between $58,000 to $68,000, depending on the specific program. And our MPA full-time MBA program is around $125K. And we do give away scholarships. And our merit-based scholarship, the range is between 0% to 100%. So they are merit-based. So when you submit your application, you will be automatically considered for scholarships. There is no separate application for scholarship. And you will be informed, how much scholarship, what's the percentage you have got when you get your admissions decision. And your scholarships will be a percentage of the tuition. For example, if you get 15% of the scholarship, then you just need to pay 85% of the tuition. And for graduate fellowships and assistantships, those are opportunities. They are not managed by the graduate admissions office. So please take a screenshot of these two websites. You can get on that to see. So basically, when you start your program, you will have chance to see what are the openings. Then you apply for that office. So if you have any question regarding those opportunities, please reach out to them directly because they are not organized by the graduate admissions office. What we give away is the merit-based scholarships I just talked about. Okay, so, I'm very aware of our time today. So I know this is just a very overall, talk about our school, our programs. If you have any, more, questions after today's, presentation, after today's session, please feel free to write to business@gw.edu, and we will have individual admissions officers reach out to you. And we are always looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, so thank you so much today. And now I'm ready for some questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nan. That was very, very, very insightful. And yes, keeping in mind the time consideration, we are almost done. I know there are quite a few questions in the question box. So given the time consideration, I am going to try and club a few of them, but overarchingly, all of those questions will get answered. So very quickly, Nan, the first one being that if someone was to pursue a master's at GWSP, what are the work options that are available for them? Will they be allowed to, let's say, take on a part-time job along with their studies, or how does that work?
Yes. So when you study in the US as an F1 visa holder, you are not allowed to do formal work in the US because your main purpose there is to study. However, having said that, you are allowed to do some campus work, like just now I said, for them, some assistantship opportunities or fellowship opportunities. You can work on campus. I think it's about 20 hours per week. That's the cap. And then after that, in the summer, you can do internships, and some internships are paid internship, or like when you find an internship, then you can work with the international student office. They are the expert on like whether you can work, what type of work you can do, they are, they are the expert on that. So when you get to the campus, you will get a chance to talk to them. So from what I understanding is, in the summer, you can do some internships, things like that. And during the school years, you can do some, assistantship or fellowship job on campus. But after you graduate, you will have chance, like, or master degree students will have 1 year OPT, but for STEM track students will have 3 year OPT. So where like you can go to work full time related to your program. Yeah, but for all those information, don't worry about it. The International Student Office will give you all those overview, and they will help you in terms of preparing any documents, things like that.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Nan. That was really helpful. Another quick question. What is the work experience requirement for any of the master's program that GWSP has to offer? Do you have a work experience, or are you all happy to take on students who are straight out of graduation with no work experience? Can you just highlight a little bit on that?
Yes, sure. So for our master programs in general, we don't have a specific, work experience requirement. Actually, some programs, like we have a lot of students fresh out of school, they were designed for students like that. For example, our Master in Management program, this program was designed for students, they didn't have a business undergraduate and they didn't have work experience, but maybe they are from a liberal arts background or engineering background. They want to, work in the business world. Then they come to our school, our Master in Management program. So that program, typically, students don't have much work experience. The real program we have a specific work experience is the MBA program. So if you don't have any work experience for most master programs, you are fine.
All right, thank you. I know you did touch upon scholarships as well, but very quickly, can you tell me if GWSP offers any specific scholarship for organizational psychology? Do you all have any specific program-related scholarships also, or other scholarships across all programs?
So I'm sure that there are a lot of different types of scholarships. That's why I want you to go to our scholarship website, for GW, not just GWSP, but for George Washington University. So check the 2 websites I showed in my screen. There are a lot of different scholarships, and fellowships, and they are for different reasons. I have seen like some specific scholarship for Chinese nationals. But for GW School of Business, for the graduate admissions office, we don't have, scholarships specifically for what you mentioned.
All right, great. One last final question for the evening. If a student has applied to GWSP, approximately how much time before they could hear back from you in terms of, where their application is at?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So once you submit your application form, you are considered applied to our program. Depending on, what are the other documents, we can connect from you. So from the time we connect all the documents we required, your application is considered completed. So from that point on, you should expect to get a decision between 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the volume of the application. However, if your document is not completed, then it's really hard to predict the timeline because we cannot start reviewing your application until your application is completed.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Nan. I know there are still a few questions lying there, but we would have to wrap up the session today. It's been a wonderful, wonderful session. Thank you, Dr. Badrinath. Thank you, Nan, for all of the wonderful insights. To all of you wonderful audiences who've been with us on this lovely Thursday evening, morning, wherever you all have logged in from. Thank you so much for all of your questions. I know because of shortage of time, I was unable to take up some of them, but please feel free to connect with us on info@seedglobaleducation.com for any of your questions. There is a special waiver code which was given to us by Nan. I have put that in the chat window. You all are also more than happy to apply for the SEED scholarship program. So once again, thank you, Dr. Badrinath. Thank you, Nan. Have a great day. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.